Greetings and salutations, ranting engineer back after a break. My friend Mo is on my case. I haven't posted a video in a while, so I'm going to get to it. First off, I'd like to wish my father a happy 75th birthday. Way to go, Dad. Okay, today's subject is tailings. It's not about a specific technology, although I will kind of get into it about some of the technology we're developing for tailings handling. This is more of a pet peeve. I hear lots of people complaining about tailings and oil sands. Oil sands is bad. It produces tailings. Oh, the world's going to end because we have too big amount of tailings. Now, if you're going to bitch and complain about tailings, you better do your homework and talk about the right tailings. So I'm going to break it down as simple as possible. To my professional friends, keep in mind this is for the general public, so I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. In general, oil sands plants produced three types of tailings, and not all the tailings are bad. That's what you need to understand. So, again, keeping it general, there's froth treatment tailings, there is middlings, and there is coarse underflow or coarse tailings. Now, you'll hear terms like MFT, NST, consolidated tailings. I'll get into that in a little bit, but let's keep it simple. So, coarse tailings, it's just sand and water. They dump it out, you get the water back, it dries out, and you get sand dunes. So if you've ever been up to Fort McMurray, if you drive past the Syncrude plant, you see vast tracts of basically just sand. That's not the bad tailings because that's pretty easy to reclaim. When you look at it, it's just sand. It's just sitting out there. The other one is froth treatment tailings. Now there's two types because there's two types of froth treatment. So froth is basically bitumen with air, water, and a bit of sediment, a little bit of sand in it. Well, sand, fine clays that comes off the primary separation vessel. Well, to clean that up, to get rid of the water, to get rid of the solids, you hit it with a little bit of solvent. There's two types. There's paraffinic solvent, which is essentially pentanes, or very light natural gas condensate. And the other one is naphtha, which is essentially gasoline. The tailings out of them are slightly different, but on the most part, it's primarily water, a little bit of solids, and trace amounts of hydrocarbon. The hydrocarbon will be like the pentanes, or it will be the naphthas. Now, before it goes out to the pond, they have to put it through stripping units. So they hit it with steam, they put it under vacuum to get rid of as much diluent as possible. And so people are aware, the government has very strict guidelines about how much diluent you actually send to the ponds. The difficulty with, if you go out there, people freak out because they, oh, I can smell it. You have to remember that some of these compounds you smell down to the parts per billion level. So if you're standing out there and you're going, I can smell diluent. Well, yeah, but that's parts per billion. It's almost immeasurable. So that being said, froth treatment tailings, in industry, froth treatment tailings, nobody really pays attention to. Paraffinic froth treatment tailings, same thing. There's a little bit of asphaltene into it. It's such a small stream, mostly water. It really doesn't cause any problems. Coarse tailings is water and sand. You get most of the water back. Where you get the problems is middlings. Middlings are the finer material. It's got clays in it. It's got charged. This is the stuff that eventually turns into MFT, or mature fine tailings. Now, mature fine tailings, kind of on its own, are not really what you would say toxic. They're salty because there's natural salts in the mines and everything like that. And the problem is it doesn't release all the water. Because of the charges in the clays and stuff like that, this mature fine tailings only consolidates down to, we'll say, 30 to 50%. Again, for all my friends that are deep into tailings, I'm not going to bore the public with good numbers. But the truth is there's a lot of water that's trapped in these tailings. So what they're trying to do in industry is come up with technologies to make drier tailings. Are there technologies that work? Yes, there are. The problem is they're not always economical. You've got certain polymers that can work, but you've got to dose it high. You need lots of land. There are drying technologies, as in you could dry the stuff with basically natural gas that's burnt, but the equipment's not expensive. But now you're creating a lot of greenhouse gases just to boil off the water, basically. There's freeze dry. There's NST, so non-segregating tailings. What they do is they take the coarse stuff, which settles really easily, they combine it with the fine stuff, and they go put it in a pond, and it doesn't segregate, it doesn't break apart. Now, if we could find a good technology for mature fine tailings, we would have an excess amount of water. Now the problem is this water's a bit salty. So we have to be careful about how we deal with it. You could do salt farms and everything else. So, is there a tailings issue facing oil sands? Yes, but it is a specific stream. I'm one of the engineers that's actually looking into how can we make use of this, what would we do with it. So that's my rant about tailings. Do your research. If you want to bitch about tailings, do your research before you talk to me. The other one is you got to make sure is you look at amount of the projects for reclaiming, end pit lakes, dry tailings. There's a couple of very good studies talking about the bison farm. That's reclaimed land. Will it be done? Yes, it will be. Right now, though, in the middle of production, they're looking at ways of reducing the landscape, reusing pits, doing better drying. It's ongoing. And the other people have to remember, the government mandates this. We have directives that we have to meet. So it's not like the oil companies are up there going ravaging and pillaging land. They have to close this out at some point, and they are actually doing that. So when they say, oh, they're leaving it for generations, no. Part of the reclaim project process is happening now. All right, that's it for this one. I'm going to load it up. Then I'm going to start talking about some other things, like carbon tax and how much it's a crock of shit. See you soon.